What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back with another round of Cosmonarchy casts, and of course, this one is going to be a set of games between Lucifirius and thisisjimmy, Zerg versus Terran here in Gauntlet Stage C of Acropolis number 3. So our last chance to qualify. Both of these two players, underdogs in that sense, but Lucy has gotten the better of Jimmy. In the previous time they met, it was a 2-0 in favor of our Zerg player. But he changes his style up quite a bit, and this time around it will be an 8 pool for our jet black Zerg player in the bottom right of Crisis Vector. In the top left we have thisisjimmy, our dim gray Terran. And with the stockade coming, it looks like it'll be a play with some pace. We'll see if Jimmy has improved since the last round, or if it's just going to be another round of smashes on the side of Lucy. Of course, their first game on Crisis Vector, the spawns were reversed in their first meeting in the tournament back in Gauntlet Stage B. And that was an interesting setup for them, in my opinion, because we're talking about a situation where Jimmy was kind of boxed into his base and Lucy had to take a significant amount of the map in order to make things happen. It took a little bit less time in their second match, and so we're going to have to see if the script holds true. You know, does Lucy take a while to beat him in game 1 and then kind of cruise to victory in game 2? That remains to be seen. But I hope you guys are excited to see. This is the only series from the lower bracket that I'll be casting before we get to the lower qualifications. So as a result, for all I know, this video comes out way later after the fact because I prioritized getting the qualification series out so that I could publicly announce the Battlement Stage groups. But either way, it's a little bit of a warm-up before the Battlement Stage itself. Let's see what ends up happening here. The Qua's coming out to accept this Maverick. Oh, he's actually going to allow him to walk in through. Those units were not on an attack move. And, well, at least he's got a couple of Zethra cores. But one Droleth might end up going down here. One more hit on the Zeth will do it. Or even on the Droleth. Yeah, there it is. Nice and easy. Barely any economic disruption. And another proxy hatch. This is how it went on the inimitable near impact second map in the previous time these two met. By the way, the map veto is the same as the last time around, with Kingwa Valley being the decider. So all you need to know is Crisis Vector opener, near impact second map. If we need a third map, we go to Kingwa Valley. So they basically shook hands and played the same thing again. Unfortunately for Lucy, the Quads are going to come in and see that at least 2 stockades are up because he's got plenty of Hurricanes and a couple of the Mavericks. Now, will Jimmy start to scout around? Will he get suspicious? Some more units come out there. It's going to clean up the front line. Those Mavericks were not stimmed. Another Hurricane is out, and plenty more Mavs. This should be easy cleanup here for the Terran. Zerg just don't have the unit counts to deal with this just yet. Maybe if he had like a single Zorius or something, or, you know, he had a Vornath tech with a couple of Vorvs, that would be different. And, you know, he can mount an attack with this proxy hatch. It's a style that we really only ever saw from Lucy against Jimmy a long time ago, basically, a while back. So we'll see if it ends up happening again here. Quads coming out. Pretty basic stuff. Starting to add in the production. Worker count pretty low here for our Zerg player. Somewhat expected. He's got the one worker idling up here at the proxy expand. I'm just kind of trying to check to see what's going on here for Jimmy. He's going to have 2 Masons out here. One for the Ministry. Presumably the other one will make an anchor if he wants to play a bit more defensively. And there it is. The Ministry is going to come down. Not so far away from Lucy's expand. Very silly. Starting to maybe think about anti-drop, anti-turret, anti-air rather. Place that watchdog down, get a little bit of coverage there. No gas being harvested just yet for Jimmy, by the way. He's well saturated on the minerals, but he refuses to harvest Vespene right now. He's just going for that faster expansion pace, which I think is pretty neat. It's a good idea. At the very least, in terms of like the theory of getting a faster expansion. I don't know if not harvesting any Vespene is a good idea, but, you know, far be it for me to say, hey, you want to play gasless? No, that's bad. I am the original gasless Gary, I'll tell you that much. So this bio push is going to come on down, and there's not that much here to hold. That's going to be a circuit closer to the ramp, although pretty far away still. I think Lucy has recognized that the stockade count must have been a little bit too high. He's going to go for the defense, and back at home, he's got Larva to work with, but not a whole lot of units. Not a whole lot of resources to make units either. Just a sort of array of Quas. The Maverick count is high enough that he can absolutely stim through, and this circuit is crucially not actually being made. He's going to focus down the circuit, which makes a lot of sense with the fire. Unfortunately, though, it doesn't actually look like any of this is going to hold. He pops that gestating Cesiant. He's got no units being made here, and I think this is actually just going to be it. I mean, he's got a lot of workers at that proxy base, but there's surely no way that Jimmy drops it from this position. He's adding a star pad back at home. The counterattack is just going to find a whole boatload of infantry. I think, actually, Jimmy has gotten the better of Lucy here. GG is called pretty early on. Only took 5 minutes for Jimmy to topple Lucy in the opening match, and he must be feeling pretty good about that. Well, Near Impact is our second map. Let's take a look. Here we are on Near Impact, and it's This Is Jimmy, our dim gray Terran in the top left. Up 1-0 in the series, now onto his own map pick. Lucy won both maps last time. So I guess if the script holds, it's going to be Jimmy winning both maps, but that feels unlikely just because I know Lucy. He's always got some shenanigans, some tricks. He's our jet black Zerg in the bottom right. And he is going to be going for some Vespene this time around. So it could be Larvosk opener, which would be standard, or it could be a Hydroth opener, a Zorkaz opener. He has done the Zorkaz opener before. If you guys remember a game earlier from Gauntlet Stage C in the upper bracket against SG, our Peruvian Terran, SGZZZ, he went for a Zorkaz opener, but it will be pooled this time around. And it was a ridiculous game that I think Lucy should have lost. I think it's fair to say that, but it went like 30 minutes, and then he just walked Quaz into the base afterwards, and that was the 2-0. So he's already had some experience taking scalps of lower-ranked Terran players. We'll see if Jimmy is able to avert that and change up his fate. Winner of this goes up against Jujic. The winner of that matchup goes up against the Night Fox, who fell to Smarty Cakes in a 5-game set, which was a pretty fun series to cast. Neblime and I definitely enjoyed that. If you missed it and you just got spoiled the outcome, I still recommend going back and watching it. It was pretty fun. And even knowing the outcome, you might be thinking to yourself, how the hell does Smarty win this a few times? And yeah, it kept you guessing to the end. It was a solid series there. Oh, a big shout out to Biddy B and Neblime for donating towards the prize pool. We will once again have a $1,000 prize pool, thanks to myself and, of course, mostly Neblime and Biddy B. So, you know, the prize pool donations are still open. You can make those to our coffee page and just let me know it's for the tournament prize pool. And that will be what we see there. Now, this delayed pool into a double Larvosk, it looks like, is going to result in at least one worker going down, it feels like. There's only 1 HP on that guy. Oh, no, the Quaz hatch, and it doesn't look like Jimmy was paying attention. So yet another early round where it feels like he absolutely should have been able to get some eco damage, and it's not going to happen. That's a Circuit, though, not a Larvosk, and it feels like it should be for production. He's intimidated by Jimmy's early Maverick. Lucy maybe playing a little bit further back, more so than he should when it comes to the mental game. I feel like he should be like, no, that was your scouting Maverick, because you didn't scout me with a Mason. And then just go for the extra Larvosk. But, I mean, if he delays it and then just makes another one after, it's not that bad. Going for the Zorkaz. This SimCity, by the way, prevents units from walking through. I'm pretty sure Bio can't make it through here, so you'd have to wrap around. So, if there's like a drop or something down here, maybe that has some significance. This Circuit, not super well placed to handle anti-drop gameplay, but I suppose you could probably put one in between this mineral field and this geyser or something, if you wanted that. Anyway, I'm getting into minutia. That doesn't matter that much. We don't actually have an expansion coming just yet, but Jimmy is starting to harvest a little bit of Vespene. So presumably he wants to go for his add-ons a bit earlier, or maybe he wants to go into Fulcrum or Starpad tech a bit earlier. Oh, I've been hard at work at the Ascozi, by the way. We are going to start implementing them into Uprising pretty soon because their structures are going to get implemented. And then, from there, we've got graphics for a couple other units. So they're all placeholder graphics. They're going to look pretty hodgepodge for a while, and you'll just have to bear with us while we get the proper graphics out there. But that's all right. So the Escagant finishes up. We are going to indeed have a couple of those. A Droleth was sent out to scout. It's going to be taken out. No proxy hatch this time around. And Jimmy is going to be looking to expand, but he doesn't actually have the Ministry down just yet. Lakes are on the way. There it is. Catching the Ministry as it goes down. Getting that satisfactory sound effect going. And we do have a third stockade as well, although this one obviously blocks the Ministry add-on. No quarry incoming for Jimmy, despite it being near impact. So the defensive setup is a little bit better here for Lucy, but his Lakes are a little bit away from hatching. This still should allow him to defend, but at what cost is the question. Is he going to end up losing some Larvosks? Where's the Lakes? They need to burrow. First one burrows. All right, even without it, it feels like maybe it would have been good. That was a bungled micro session there from Jimmy. He could have just focused down the Circuit in that situation and maybe also stimmed the Mavs. That might have helped. We've got another round of Bio moving out, so it looks like this attack is going to be less significant, less effective. A Starpad on the way. One Lake is being pushed back. We've got a Gorgorcore out as well. Wouldn't be surprised to see a Watchdog to join that Cestus at some point in terms of defensive expenditures. No expand for Lucy, and he's still down by quite a bit of workers. So even though the attack didn't kill Lucy, Jimmy is still actually ahead. He's got more resources, more workers, and that second base coming up. His Starpad and his Cestus will help insulate him from sure defeat, and he's going to get the Ant-Seal out pretty quickly as well. That's one of the reasons why you go with Cestus here. Provides detection, so the push from the Lake can't just walk up on you. I'd love if he had tried to isolate this area so that the Cestus still detects from maximum range. It's got pretty good sight range, so it's not like too dreadful. It should actually catch even down here, but the run by could be a little bit easier. And if you funnel him through this area instead by putting down some structure for a wall, that can help out. Hatch on the high ground. Lucy really giving a lot of respect to some early push out, but if he had perfect map vision right now, he'd scout and see Jimmy was setting up for a more defensive push. You know, something that's going to be a posture that lets him get his mech units out so that he can support his bio. Well played there. And yeah, it has to be said, if Jimmy ends up taking the series, it's been a little bit off the back of Lucy trying cheeky things, but also off the back of him actually, you know, I think just making units a little bit more and getting them in the right spots. Even as he went for his attack in Crisis Vector, he still had another round of units to counter the counterattack, right? He was still more than ready, more than equipped for that, and just came in as Lucy was setting up his defenses a little bit before. Now we saw what happens this time around. Lucy had his defenses up, his extra tech up, and actually had those units coming a bit easier, partially because he wasn't spending his money on a secret base, so that might help out as well. Lucy playing it a little bit more straight now that he's on elimination point here. His opponent going to be making it over to face Jujic if Lucy ends up failing, and that will be TVP as opposed to ZVP. Lucy against Jujic in Gauntlet Stage B, there were some interesting games there. Didn't end up being too successful for Lucy, but still, I think he said that, what did he say earlier? He's like, that was the only series he played where he wasn't inebriated in some way, high or inebriated, right? So that's interesting. You know, Lucy's a gamer, a different breed of gamer. Wraiths out on the star pad. Makes a lot of sense. We're going to see plenty more action where that came from. Wraiths can be pretty good with the Ant-Seal to clear out burrowed Lakes if they're left there as a containment. So we've seen Jimmy do that against Dino Man. I think that's a strategy that probably has some legs. I mean, Wraiths are pretty cheap. It's not like StarCraft 1 Wraiths where they're the same price as a siege tank. In Cos Monarchy, they are 75 minerals, 25 gas. They're pretty cheap. But they don't have the Wraiths, the anti-air missile attack. They only have laser attack. Pretty neat, nonetheless. Lucy looking to spend his considerable gas bank. He just needs 450 minerals for the tier 2, if that is what he wants to go for. Wraith getting peppered by the Spraith, but hey, look at that. Finds a way in. All these Wither cores for anti-drop. Some quads will be dispatched. And I don't know about burrowing every worker. That feels like way too much of an economic penalty to be paying here. And especially since he hasn't unburrowed them. Lucy, no! Now you got to retask all your workers. All the while, the Wraith ends up slipping the net. Oh, no, it died. Okay. All good. All right. Tier 2 can be on the way anytime Lucy wants it. Jimmy, on the other hand, has gone for the mech. Going for Phalanx Goliath, who wants to pressure the front line. There's a very large actuation time before Tier 2 actually gets online here for Lucy. And he does end up putting it down in the main base. So he's not invoking the ire of Nebelheim, at least. But he doesn't really have that many Lakes, right? It's only the 2 on the high ground. He's watching out for drops. But the frontal attack is what's really going to hit him, including 1 Phalanx and a couple more mech units as well, adding more production behind this. So this is a committed Tier 1 attack from Jimmy. By the way, Wraiths are apparently making a comeback in TVP, but more about that later on when we cast some hit-em-up games. Yes, that's right. We're going to be doing that before the battlements. It'll be a great preview. All right, the Zoryus are taking quite a few hits here, and that is an unfortunate start to this trade because that one is very, very low now. Setting up some anti-ground defense, anti-surface defense circuits could help if it's a full-blown charge, but if the Phalanxes just kind of whittle it down, a second one on the way, third one back at the rally. And Goliath's not actually waypointed down correctly, but they are there when Jimmy notices them. Third base on the way for him on location. That's how confident he is in his position. Tier 2 structure has completed, and here come the Wraiths to try to pick those Lakes. I mean, what do you even do there? You actually have to unburrow them in order to lift them up. Unbelievable. Just kind of sauntering on. I mean, Lakes are definitely needed here. Crowd control definitely needed. We have no Khaz'trith. We've got the Ultrav Cavern and the Kalkir Lake. That's what's coming up here for Lucy. If he can stall for another minute and a half, he'll be more than capable of spending down the money that he needs in order to get a big army. But look at this. He's charging way too far forward, it feels like. He's lost all of his Riller cores. There's some back here that he can maybe try to throw in to get some spread damage, some friendly fire. More Quas are hatching. 15 pairs of them. That one Lake will be brought down. But all the Hurricanes, while I say that, more of them are here up at the top. The Anseals slowly being drained as the Quads try their best to gun them down. It's just not going to be enough, it feels like, but let's see. Maybe some next round of units here too. Zorius on the way, he can stall out. Spent out a lot of money. Lucy does not have a big bank. Jimmy completely abandoning the opportunity to spend any of his cash. He's got 3k minerals in the bank. He finally looks away as the Quads push forward to try to gun down those Anseals. Oh, it's a little bit too much though. Naphtha core pairs on the way. He wants to make some calculus, it looks like. Again, I said earlier, a minute and a half. We're about that minute mark. So a little bit more from Lucy required if he wants to push this through. High ground circuit going to be the next victim. Offers up a Quaz as well. He really needs to make those calculus as soon as possible, and I don't even think he has enough gas. He's got to go now, it feels like. Again, no splash damage. He's going to go after the Phalanx, but the Goliaths have resurfaced. And they're going to come on down before that Phalanx is able to get anything done. Look at the Clerics boosting its armor and helping it out a little bit with the heal. I think that's it, man. I don't think he's got anything else he can throw at this problem. I think Jimmy, despite his float, is going to be able to push on through for the dub. And Lucy will be brought down. 2-0, no less. This is really impressive. Jimmy really turning a new leaf. Now, he still doesn't have class 3, but it's still good, you know. I imagine he's just throwing food at his computer screen, watching that, hearing that, but still not class 3. But that's a step in the right direction. You know, once he clears the best of 3 of best of 9s against Grass Eater, he can start talking about a class 3. But until then, you're just going to have to wait and watch. Lucy is... he's trying. I mean, he had the Ultrav Cavern. He just hasn't been able to make anything with it. He never was able to actuate his tier 2. He never made a Excisant. He never had the time. Jimmy didn't give him any breathing room. Suffocating him now with the Phalanxes. And he might not even need to siege them up, but he certainly can if he wants to. And just kind of blow open the low ground. Lucy staying in the game as this is his tournament life on the line. Gonna send up a couple of the Zets. A little bit of friendly fire there. I thought maybe he picked the Shaman, but it stays alive just barely. Being healed by the Clerics as well, for good measure. And that is a total massacre. GG, well played! Exclamation point. Lucy concedes, and Jimmy moves on in the tournament before his Atlas can even finish. A 2-0 for our Terran hero from the Ukraine, now residing in Germany. Jimmy is rocking out in the lower bracket. Well, GG's, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for joining me for this game, or this match, I should say, as it was multiple games. We'll be back with more coverage of the tournament and more coverage of little previews here and there of the tournament, of the Battlement stage, coming at you. So stay tuned for that. GG.